his arrival was the event of the season. And my great-grandfather was staying at this little girl's home just on the day of the concert. She came down with influenza and missed the concert, and she was brokenhearted. And when he came back from this long concert, and I'm sure many encores, he stood at the end of her bed and he said, "For you, little lady, I'll sing the whole thing again." And there he was, the chazan and the little girl.
In 1933, shortly before Yossele's death, he was filming a movie called Dream of My People. Apparently he passed away during the film, before its completion. And our school at Yeshiva University, the Bell School, was trying to locate this film. And I spoke to this Irish gentleman and asked him, "Do you have the film Dream of My People?" A very famous cantor, Joseph Rosenblatt, was the most important figure in this film. So he said, "You mean Yossele?"
There's a time it's told that he went and was on his way to have my great-grandmother's watch repaired. And some poor man marrying off a daughter happened to importune him at the exact moment, and he gave away my great-grandmother's watch.
Yossele Rosenblatt was a ish chesed, a idealistic Jew, a great Zionist, and a great composer. And perhaps because of all of these reasons, his compositions are still sung today with great success by many, many cantors throughout the entire world.
He's known among chazanim as the chazan who always went out of his way to do a favor for a beleaguered colleague or to help a young chazan get his start. He also had a wonderful sense of humor. He was always smiling. He loved jokes. And there was always a friendly rivalry between himself and chazan Mordechai Hershman. They say that Hershman scoffed at him once at a concert because his shoes weren't as shiny as they might be, and Hershman was a very natty dresser. And my great-grandfather responded, "Reb Mordechai, you're right. When you sing, they look at your shoes, so you better have them polished. When I sing, they look at the beard." Of course, Hershman had a tiny little beard, and my great-grandfather had a large one. But it must have been a very friendly rivalry, because at his funeral in Jerusalem, Chazan Mordechai Hershman and Savil Kvartin, his great rivals, sang and wept at his funeral. And indeed, because they were in the throes of bankruptcy, the story goes that Chazan Kvartin himself paid for the ticket for my great-grandmother to be able to return home to New York. The Shabbos before he died, he prayed in the great Churva synagogue in the old city of Jerusalem. And he prayed for the sake of Merkas HaRav Kook, the yeshiva of the late Chief Rabbi Kook, Zecher Tzadik Livracha. They say that Shachris was like the songs of the angels. He spared nothing. And then something happened during the Kriyas HaTorah. News reached the Churva synagogue of the murder of Arlozorov, a Jew who was essentially killed by Jews. And they say it was as if something had turned off the light. And Musaf was quick and unadorned. And that night, the last time that they were together, suddenly Rav Kook turned to my great-grandfather. And remember, we're at the end of the month of Sivan. We're just beginning the summer in Israel. He turned to him and asked him to compose on the spot an improvisation for one of the beautiful lines of the Ne'ilah service, which speak about the end of the day and the closing of the gates. And Rabbi Fox, Zichron Livracha, told me that my great-grandfather, on the spot, composed the most hauntingly beautiful melody for Ne'ilah that he had never sung before. And 2 days later, he was gone. How Rav Kook knew that he was approaching his Ne'ilah, no one in this world will ever know. Rav Kook eulogized him as God's harp. And he said that just as a harp, no matter how beautiful the music it has made, never takes on airs, is never arrogant, and believes that its work in the world is to make that music for the hands of the musician. He said Yossele was that harp in the hands of God, and nothing that he did, nothing that he achieved, contaminated him with any kind of arrogance or attitude. I think maybe the reason that people are still looking for Yossele is because they know that when he sings, there is a sweetness and a love and a purity that they may be sure continues to sing for the Jewish people even in the other world. The sense that his life was guided by God and that his very special presence among the Jewish people was God's gift is something that has been a kind of a returning and unavoidable reality throughout my life. My grandfather was a wonderful rabbi, a great rabbi in Baltimore. And he was there during the years after the war. And one man came and said to him, "Do you know how I survived? I wasn't in a concentration camp. I was in a labor camp because they didn't know I was a Jew. And there was one other man there whom I suspected was also a Jew. And more than anything in the world, I wanted contact with someone of my people." And he said, "I remember one day we were walking, and I began to hum. And I hummed Yossele Rosenblatt's Keli, Keli, Lama Azaftani. My God, why hast thou forsaken me?" And when this man finished the tune, I knew that I found a brother. That's what he's been. He's been the music that brings the brothers together. You can still hear him in the homes of Mea Sharim, and you can still hear his music in the homes of Jews who perhaps have set aside every visible sign of religious observance. And somehow, as he did during his life, he still sings for all of them. And I kind of suspect he always will.
Bye.